Hello and welcome to the Student StarCraft AI Tournament Weekly Cast. This is Nightcat and I'll be your host today. And today we'll be starting off with a recommended game of Crazio, the Orange Terran, up against TSC Moo, which I believe this was the random TSC Moo. But maybe not based on the name just being TSC, or unless TSC Moo is random on the Basil ladder, which is I believe where this game is from. This is on the Roadrunner map, and so we have both bots opening up with their starting supply depot. No one up. Crazio going ahead and sending off his scout, getting his first barracks. And actually, TSC Moo, that's interesting, is getting his barracks positioned actually as if he was playing a PvT, or sorry, TVP. Which actually, I would love to see more bots doing that in TVP, that sort of positioning. It allows you some really strong defense without having to get a bunker or a wall, since you can camp your marine right there where the zealots can't reach. So that way you can deal with zealot rushes pretty well. And you can also run in between up and down in order to keep the marine alive, and as well as going after the zealots a little bit when they run out of range in your marine. So Crazio has found TSC Moo. Scout's been chased out. TSC Moo is just now scouted, which feels a little bit late, but should be alright. He should be able to find them, and it looks like not going. I thought he was going for the cross scout, but doesn't look like it. Meanwhile, the barracks is out to scout for Crazio, and we are getting a quick starport here after 2 factories, so this should be pretty cool to see some air coming in. Meanwhile, TSC Moo is going for 3 factories with 1 machine shop. So, don't see armory started yet for him. So we'll see if he'll have the anti-air to deal with the wraiths in time or not. And the wraiths are up there. The armory is coming down now. So he will be able to get those Goliaths after taking just a little bit of damage potentially from the wraiths. But it looks like instead he's going to be going for... Nope, he's just got a couple of SCVs. Long distance mining from the natural. Here are a few shots being fired as Crazio is now approaching. A lot of mines laid down, but a lot of Crazio's army is not really gonna... Oh, the Marine! Sacrificing himself for the greater good there. And now it looks like Crazio's in a pretty good position here to set up a contain with the... with a little bit of vultures here, the wraiths as well as the bridges here. And granted, TSC Moo can just move around this, but now with the Goliaths out, going to go ahead and push up. Looks like that tank kind of got left a bit vulnerable there as the other tank had backed off. So TSC Moo able to handle that pretty easily. I like the surround on the enemy tanks there. Very nice to see. Getting into that range of the enemy there, or too close to the enemy so that the tanks can't fire shots off when sieged, is what I'm trying to say there. So very nice to see. Meanwhile, Crazio's natural is up. TSC Moo's natural is up. Crazio really pushing to get the contain here on TSC Moo. But the large vulture force is just able to pick apart the tanks when it wants to, since there's not much to prevent them. Oh, and that tank walking into the mines. Just devastating damage there to that poor tank. Very good usage of the mines on the bridge too, so that way there's less space for the units. They'll be more cramped when they come across and encounter those mines, so that's very awesome to see. We do have Valkyrie coming out now for TSC Moo. We're still on a 2 base versus 2 base. Crazio does have a bit of a bank, so he could expand if he wanted to, but I think it looks like they're both going for upgrades. I don't see more macro coming out. Oh, that's a bit odd that the descriptions seem to be missing for those upgrades in SCR. But TSC Moo, while I was looking at that, distracted by that, able to break out of the contain that Crazio was attempting to set up, taking out the buildings. And meanwhile, Crazio is going to try and take a third here, while keeping a front here. The army count seems to be pretty low for Crazio, surprisingly, unit-wise. but I don't think Crazio is in trouble just yet. TSEMU's army seems to have really spread itself out a bit here. So Crazio is going to be able to maybe slowly march across this middle. And actually, I'm not sure exactly where TSEMU's army is. He's now long distance mining up here, which is interesting to see. I think I would rather it just go ahead and expand or keep those SCVs at home until it's ready to expand, but it's expanding actually down here while long distance mining from that too. So now we do have the tank lines forming up here in the middle. Well, tank lines. There's only 2 here from TSEMU, but Crazio's tank numbers are definitely increasing faster than TSEMU's. TSEMU only pumping out about 2 at a time, while Crazio is pumping out 3. Just very briefly going to peek inside Crazio with the 4 factories, 3 with machine shops, rather. TSEMU with the 3 factories with, actually, yeah, 4 factories with 4 machine shops, so surprised that Crazio was out producing their tank-wise, but TSEMU is also trying to pump out Goliaths as well while getting the upgrades. And just checking real quick here, see the upgrade count. We've got 1-0 and 1-0 for each side, so they're on equal upgrades for the moment for their tanks. It looks like TSEMU will be at 1-1 pretty soon, whereas Crazio is starting the 2nd upgrade for weapons. Meanwhile, we've got the 3rd got taken out for Crazio over here, but he did get a 3rd down below, as well as now starting a 4th down here. TSEMU established a 4th up here and is now getting a 5th up here. A lot of action going on in this game. Meanwhile, we've got a bit of a standoff here. Crazio probably could really push in if he wanted to, but I don't know if that would, if going for a kill shot here would really be what you would want to do. But TSEMU, he is allowing TSEMU though to take more of the map than I think he can afford to do so. Because if you're going to get into a situation where you're splitting the map and then essentially having a war of attrition, you're going to want to try and split it at least in half so that way you have an equal footing. If not, so that you're like 1 base up on your opponent for the whole game. A lot of scans going off in different places. Both Terrans, I guess, using it for scouting, because I'm not really seeing any scans on the screen where we are here. Meanwhile, TSEMU is just continuing to take more bases. I think he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 mining bases, it looks like, with the main, or 6 if you include the main, which is probably almost mined out. Meanwhile, Crazio just has 1, 2, 3, 4 with his main almost mined out. Looks like he's maybe trying to get a 5th, or that might, actually, no, that's just a spider mine down there. So there are the cloaked wraiths here now, though, so now we do have a pretty decent tank line, but there are ways around it. So it'll be interesting to see what these bots are going to do. Like the Air Force here just kind of dancing back and forth. Not quite doing much. This is something that I've noticed with bots a lot, is they tend to obviously want to minimize damage to their units, which is a good and smart move. But a lot of the time, though, they seem to like just dance even outside of their own attacking range. So they're not getting any shots off, and then occasionally they're getting hit by the enemy, which is something that you want to try to avoid, because then you're just taking free, or essentially giving your opponents free life to take away from your units. They are going to slowly destroy at least one of the buildings that was floating there, and then this barracks is going to limp back for some repairs from an SCV. Crazio, I think, is slowly advancing forward here. I guess there was another unit up there that got taken out. But the both units' armies are basically maxed out here, so the minerals and the gas count are just going to explode. Meanwhile, upgrades are going off. We're getting air upgrades now for Crazio. More of those. Let's just take a look at the upgrades right now. We're at 2 and 1 for Crazio and 2 and 2 for TSEMU. What have we got air-wise? Let's see if we can get an air unit here. No air upgrades for TSC Mu, and just the one attack for now for Crazio. You know, Crazio is now getting the armor, the air armor upgrade, and the ground armor upgrade as well for his units. Some Goliaths coming out now for Crazio to deal with the air of TSC Mu, and really the tank count is just way higher for Crazio. But now we've got a battle cruiser coming out here, which might be why we have the Goliaths coming out for Crazio. And the units glitching out a little bit here, stacking on each other. Might be a problem for him here. Things actually got quiet for a moment there. As we just have this standoff, though, is slowly going, I think, in Crazio's favor as he's slowly picking units, the tanks off, slowly moving forward. I'm wondering if once we see like these last few tanks go down, if we will see just like the surge from Crazio to move forward. This battle cruiser, oh, it's gonna, and it does fire on something there, but that didn't see anything take damage. That was interesting. Or maybe it was on one of the air units that was there, or building? I'm not quite sure what that was then. We've got defense matrixed air units here going after each other. Oh, but it looks like the battle cruisers were slowly able to do some damage to the tank line of Crazio while it repositioned as well. It looks like TSC Mu may be slowly breaking through over here where there's now an opening, where there was just before like 1 or 2 tanks. He was able to clear those out with the air, I believe, and now is slowly pushing forward. Meanwhile, just the entire map is just covered in green, or teal rather, and orange. But this middle of the map here is still where the bots are obsessed with. But what's funny about that is, like, there's plenty of space, like, there's an avenue here for both the bots to kind of harass each other and go after each other's expansions. You know, this expansion's pretty exposed, although there is a single tank there. There are places where some damage can be done. But I think part of the advantage of doing that in human play is distracting your opponent and pulling their attention away from various situations and forcing them to have to multitask and pay attention to more things. Where doing that against a bot is not quite as helpful if you're not doing real damage to their base and or to their economy. I know in the past, playing as a human against Crazio, one of the things that I've tried to do is actually nuke Crazio for the fun of it. There's another Yamato shot there that I missed. Well, I'm not sure what the target was, but we heard it. But yeah, so I tried to nuke a Crazio as a human, and the thing is, because the bots know where the nuke is, if it's within their vision, like, it just wasn't something that I could pull off there. But it's still something fun to try. So we do have a large Wraith fleet here that's taking some damage from these Valkyrie. Crazio is trying to push into this expansion now a bit while keeping this main army here, which is good to see that he's splitting up his army like that in an aggressive fashion. Not sure what these vultures are doing. Let me see if they don't seem to have mines left, so if that's the case, you could just sack them and then get new ones, so that way you have more mines. Which is something that you don't see bots do a lot, but you'll see humans do. Like, if they've got a large bank like this in this type of situation, find a small gap in your opponent's line where you can get to one of their bases, such as, like, you know, these two. Just send all of your vultures in there that don't have mines to try and... Although, I mean, these are TSC Mu's, so TSC Mu's mindless vultures shouldn't hit his own workers. But, like, like in here, for instance, like there's right at the moment a pretty somewhat open path. You bring enough, yeah, you're going to lose a few, but you could probably take out some workers. Against bots, probably not going to be all that much damage doing that, but that frees up supply so that way you can then either replace it with more vultures, with more mines, or whatever you're focusing your army composition on at that point. And that is a lot of vultures, or not vultures, rather Valkyrie. And that battle cruiser is just eating so much damage right now, but able to back off and ask for repairs from the SCV repair crew. One of which is carrying some depleted gas, which is pretty fun to see. So Crazy has been able to push forward slowly, pushing TSCMU back. I think TSCMU might have invested a little too heavily in the Valkyrie. They can be a good anti-air unit, but ultimately they're not going to be able to do anything to try and prevent the Goliaths or the tanks from moving forward. And when you're keeping your units alive, as well as these bots are, you're not losing them the supply to replace them with something that is going to be more effective against the now new army composition that your opponent has. So that actually could be something that's backfiring for TSCMU a little bit there. Meanwhile, we do have the second front here. We got a battlecruiser and some vultures trying to hold off some vultures, Goliath, a couple wraiths. But that looks like that push is secondary to this. Now there are a large number of battle cruisers there. Looks like we've got 5 battle cruisers for TSCMU. A nice defense matrix there, saving the battle cruiser. But even with the very large bank of minerals and gas, I don't know if TSCMU is going to be able to push this back. Especially since he's pretty much refusing to engage with the Valkyrie at the moment. And just kind of sitting on the bridge. And then losing one of the battlecruisers there when it decided to use the Yamato gun. Getting a little bit of damage in there, but don't know if it's going to be enough to actually push forward. Although both bots are doing a good job of just staying at 200. Very quickly replacing anything that dies. So sorry about that. At some point the replay desynced and remaster, which really isn't that surprised for how long this game was going on there. But I've got it to about where I think the desync may have happened. So we can just jump right back into the action here, where Crazio had the contain on TSCMU. Yeah, this battle cruiser count I think is maybe looking a little bit higher. Meanwhile, Crazio is knocking on the door up here at this point with the army that's in the expansion back here. So yeah, this is looking a bit more like where we were. So what I had noticed was that there were some units hanging around the starports down here in the bottom right. So I'm not exactly sure where I've cut the footage from remaster, or what all I was saying exactly, but at this point it's looking like it's going to have to be a war of attrition between the two. With Crazio's minerals are looking like they're going to run out a little bit faster, but now we've got a Goliath heavy force here that's moving in, which is going to be able to handle these battle cruisers, I think, pretty well. Especially, yeah, there's not many tanks, it looks like, on the field for TSCMU. Well, there's 8, but I'm not sure where they are exactly. Meanwhile, in the production, there's a lot of Goliaths coming out now for TSCMU. You know, Crazy is getting a lot of Goliaths themselves, as well as getting a lot more Marines. With a couple of battle cruisers, and also getting another macro building for some reason when you really don't have anywhere to mine. That decision's maybe a little bit questionable, but he's able to push in here. Yeah, this is turning out differently, this engagement, than it did in the remastered version of this replay with the desync. It was looking like TSCMU was able to break free a bit, but looks like that was not what actually is happening in the game. Some very nice Yamato guns there. And sorry for the pause, but this is such a long game, I've needed to take a couple of drinks of water through this. But it looks like we are at a bit of a standoff with this bridge, which, again, bridges are one of the toughest things to deal with, both as a human player and for bots especially. But now both bots have used pretty much all of the resources that they have available to themselves. I believe the map is entirely mined out at this point of minerals. So now it's just down to the armies that they currently have, with them having equal supply in army. It probably would be a good idea to mix in your SCVs at this point into your army, just to try and eat up shots. But it looks like Crazio is maybe doing a little bit better of a job with their battle cruisers sniping enough damage to slowly pick off units. Yeah, slowly picking off tanks there so that the ground units can move forward. The engineering bay goes, there's the last tank there. That was the last tank for TSCMU. Yeah, and with that, now he's able to just push this air army, just refusing to engage and support those Goliaths there. Meanwhile, the whoop, didn't mean to grab that. Let's see if I can put it back where it was, almost. Yeah, these Goliaths are just hiding. They're like, no, we don't wanna play. There's a couple of vultures just chilling up here too. Meanwhile, Crazio is just going to clean up this main here, and I think at this point it is safe to call the game for Crazio. So this was a pretty awesome TVT to watch. The entire base being mined out, or the entire map being mined out is something that you don't see too often in a StarCraft game. And then Crazio is just going to go ahead and continue with the cleanup here. So let's go ahead and call the game for Crazio and jump into the next game. So after that recommended game, we have going back to bots which have seen updates within this past week. We have Corona having been updated up against Purple Destiny on Moonglaive. This is good ZVT. We'll see how this one plays out here. Moonglaive being a 3-player map, if I'm remembering correctly, with the third start position up here in the top middle. So getting the barracks first, followed by the supply depot. And Purple Destiny is actually a random bot, so Corona does not know the race of Purple Destiny until just now, when that SCV passed the Overlord, I believe. We are seeing Zerglings come out, and going to go ahead and chase down the scouting SCV there. And Purple Destiny, or rather Corona knowing, Purple going up against another Purple opponent's going to confuse me, just like in the tournament. But Corona being able to deduce where Purple Destiny is, but Purple Destiny, I like the barracks or the bunker placement. That is excellent placement. It will protect your gas, although the rest of the buildings could use a little bit of work. I don't know why they're crowding around that supply depot down there, which is far away from where the opponent is going to come from, number one. Number two, the opponent can run around, maybe that's why they're doing it, but you're leaving your bunker pretty exposed where the Zerglings could have time to run in and swarm it and potentially destroy it. No gas yet for Purple Destiny. Gonna go ahead and toss down a bunker out at the natural, and Corona's just not going to contest it or give it any type of hard time with being completed. And now that it is completed, the Marines will move up to the bunker position to keep that natural. A nice little gridded pattern there, which they're going to adjust a little bit here and there. Very cool to see. And meanwhile, we have a nice arc forming here of Zerglings from Corona. It did get gas and then pulled off of it, and seems to just be pumping lings off of 2 hatcheries. I'm not sure how that's going to go, given there's a decent amount of Marines along with a bunker there, and the Zerglings not committing. They thought about it and then backed off after they saw the amount of Marines there. I'm not sure that a 2 hatchery Zergling all-in is going to be able to break this, but here we go. It's gonna try. Doing some damage, but the lings are just popping like popcorn that you would not want to eat after it's popped. The SCVs with the nice repair there. I did see some drones, so it looks like we'll probably see a transition out of this. Some Zerglings rather did get into the main to do some harassing. That SCV building the academy did not quite make it. But now Purple Destiny should be okay after that. And then leaves the game. So, given the way that ended, I had to double check this replay in OpenBW, and it definitely desynced in this battle. So we'll go ahead and play it out here. But what's weird about it is I can't quite figure out where, or like how exactly. I guess it was in the Zergling AI where the desync happened. Because yeah, if we watch here, the Marines just get slaughtered. So I'm guessing the Marine and or Zergling AI, the internal AI to the game, rather, played out very differently in remaster than the replay viewer than it did here. So good game by Krona there, getting enough Zerglings to overpower the Marines. I really thought the Marines would have been enough to take care of it, but I guess going in with the Zergling all in was a good idea when your opponent decides to put resources into expanding instead of getting just bigger army to deal with your bigger army. So let's go ahead and jump into the next game. So for our next match, we have Red Rum in the top right as the Red Terran against Alpan, who is the hiding on us Orange Terran down in the bottom left. And for some reason, the Orange, let me go ahead and get the map real quick. Orange tends to look brown to me in remaster when you're zoomed out for some reason, so if I get that colors mixed up, I apologize in advance. Halpan was updated this week, so I figured we would take a look at Halpan here and just watch a good game from him. So Fighting Spirit going ahead and doing a cross map scout here. Or, oh, nope, just checking for a proxy and then going and scouting the neighboring start position. So Fighting Spirit, as you can see from the scouts, is a 4-player map with the players starting in the corners of the map with minerals in the middle. And Red Rum's scout finding Halpan, and Halpan cleaning that scout up. And now Halpan, by process of elimination, finding Red Rum just as the Vulture pops. Now it looks like Red Rum is going for an aggressive play here, going out with his first Vulture and 3 Marines. The Vulture going well ahead of the Marines, while also getting now a starport, so it looks like this was a 1-1-1 build. Alpan, meanwhile, has the defensive bunker in the main, with the Marines popping in and out, doing a little dance there. Looks like Halpan also went with a 1-1-1. We have the 1 barracks, the 1 factory, and the 1 supply depot. So similar builds, but different execution from both bots. Red Rum trying to go for the more aggressive play, but Halpan being able, while taking some damage, being able to pick off a Marine, and possibly, and a second one. But Red Rum is just still producing those troops and sending them forward. Meanwhile, we've got Wraiths under construction for both players. But Halpan might be able to pick off the Marines. Nope, not quite. Gonna run into the bunker, which is going to keep Halpan safe. Halpan does have a Wraith, which I think should be able to take care of 2 Marines. And got a Vulture coming all the way up towards his main. Gonna meet up with another Vulture and possibly that Wraith, although just dodging it. So Halpan adding on another factory. Meanwhile, Red Rum is getting a engineering bay and another barracks. And now we've got more fighting going on here with the eternal dance of the Bunker Marines, which could go and scare off that Wraith, but they're just not choosing to do so. Upon is now getting his engineering bay as well as a control tower. I think that is, yep, control tower. And Red Rum is going to go ahead and work to get his expansion up. And got even some medics, which are usually not going to be very effective medic and marine against a mech Terran army, but we'll see how it does. Meanwhile, Halpan is lining up some bases just to make sure that they don't get taken by Red Rum without them knowing. The Vultures, though, are going to come in, clean up some units, but ultimately not going to be able to, I think, deliver a killing blow. But there are now a couple of Wraiths in the mix. Cloak is almost finished, but he does have some turrets up as well as the comsat station, so he would be able to scan if anything poked on him. Getting the upgraded infantry weapon, rather. So it looks like we're going to be sticking with a biomech mix. Able to clear out what was in the natural and main, and now going to go ahead and try and push forward again. Meanwhile, Halpan is back at home, setting up a tank on the high ground to defend. Very nice to see. Going to be able to defend a wide area while in a very defensive position itself. Meanwhile, that Vulture trying to take advantage of the terrain, it looked like, but not quite able to do so just due to the number of Marines that were there, along with the science vessel giving it detection. So this lone tank is coming out and clearing mines, I'm guessing? Yeah, looks like clearing mines with the science vessel. That's actually very nice to see, but now it's doing a dance while waiting for some Marines to catch up. Nice mine clearing ability there. Meanwhile, we've got a couple of Wraiths back harassing this factory here, which is just in the yellow, so not going to burn down yet. Now moving forward, would have preferred to see that tank stay there on the high ground, although it would be vulnerable to the Wraiths. You do now have your own Wraith that would be able to help defend it. At this point, this bunker down here is really not doing too much. Probably should just pull those Marines forward instead of having them dance in and out like that, but that was a weird little graphical glitch there in the middle. Oh, there was a Vulture that had snuck into the main of Red Rum there to deal a little bit of damage, but it ended up getting taken out in the end. Red Rum continuing the construction of the barracks there that was slowed down for the moment. Halpan now attempting to push out. One thing to note in this game is that neither side really seems to have had a very strong army at any one point. Halpan with the higher supply count, double the workers, more than double the workers actually. Looks like he's going to be able to push this Marine tank force back using the Vultures and the Goliath and the one Wraith there. And then I like the scatter there when the tank sieges up. We're pushing this back a little bit further, all the way to the natural. Gonna do some damage here to the undefended third, which is nice to see. Meanwhile, the third is being established over here. The workers are starting to get to work on there, getting the additional minerals. Getting a nice contain set up while slowly advancing the tanks. Would like to see that tank siege, thank you. And it looks like this is going to be it for Red Rum, with Halpan taking the win here. Again, a very nice graphical glitch. Said not enough energy, and then something 7 something. So very nice game there, with a bit of back and forth across the map there. Good early aggression from Red Rum. But really, I think all of the barracks and the Marine medic that it was trying to work in there just did not work in its favor against the all-mech army. Let's go ahead and hop ourselves into our next game. Our next game, we have 2 bots which were updated this week. We have the green Terran, Willie T, in the top right, up against the beige Protoss, Banana Brain, down in the bottom left of the 2-player map Benzene. Looks like we are going to see some sort of proxy cheese here from Banana Brain, which is going to be quickly discovered by Willie T. Looks like this is going to, yep, it is a, not a cannon rush, but it is a in-your-face gateway proxy. So this will be fun and interesting to see. I thought Banana Brain usually with its proxies hid the gateways, but I guess it does have the ability to just kind of put them down right in your face. Now the ability did pull a couple of SCVs, so I guess it knows that something is up. It is getting the barracks, so this is a good response to see. It should be able to hold this back at this point, having got the bunker. Although this area is maybe a bit exposed, but with proper micro, you could probably deal with this somewhat easily. The Marines are on standby to hop into the bunker at a moment's notice, and now with 4 Zealots, we're going to head and move out. Going straight for the command center and workers. And the command center nicely protected by the bunker, so that is good bunker positioning there. Just having this corner in range, Zealots not really able to move elsewhere due to the workers being pulled off the line and engaging. So that was a great response there by Willie T to see. A little bit worried about the Marines moving forward here, but they can easily fall back with maybe just losing a couple of them to the bunker if need be. So, okay. That SCV right there that I've just selected is building that refinery. For a moment, I did not see it building it, and I'm like, what? It's building that refinery. So yep, gonna go ahead and fall back. Another attempt here by Banana Brain. But really, there's enough Marines to clean this up. Command Center's gonna take a little bit of damage. Would like to see somebody stop and repair it, but it's not burning down yet. Meanwhile, back behind this, Banana Brain is now getting a Cyber Core, so going to go ahead and transition into something a little bit more traditional, perhaps. But Willie T is going on the offensive now, which is actually a great move, having finished off your medics, and you can see there's no production capabilities at home. The gateway is just being started. Willie T should be able to clean this up. If he can get this pylon and then just march into the enemy's main, he might be able to win this. But we'll see. He's going to get held up on the gateways too. Probably could have just left those there for now. Yep, okay, cleared those out and now is moving forward. So we'll see what Banana Brain is able to get up in time. While it was sitting there to clear out those gateways, Banana Brain was able to get some more gateways to complete, as well as start more now while the army marches across. So the army might not be quite enough to break this, but we will see how it plays out. There are 2 Dragoons, but I think this Terran army, if it hits the Dragoons properly and not in a conga line, might be able to handle these 3 Dragoons. They're going to back up and give up the ramp. Let's see, they're going to go ahead and target the gateway here. Let's check real quick. Okay, I had actually slowed it down slower than fastest for a moment. They're targeting... Actually, this is probably the smartest move you can do. Target the gateways right now, because you're probably not going to be able to win against the army, but you can definitely hurt his macro capabilities. He's letting you do that. Although should probably be concentrating on the weaker, like on the same buildings. Pretty nice play to see there from Willie T. These army is going to get cleaned up a little bit here, but back home, hopefully we've got some good production going on here. We do have tanks started now. Banana Brain is starting to expand and going to counter now with its larger army. If Willie T can hold this off, I think he'll actually be in a pretty good position here. But Banana Brain had ended up banking a lot of minerals there because it wasn't really able to build an army during that, as the gateways were kind of getting taken out there. Now Banana Brain gonna try and poke in, seize the tanks. Gonna try and pick off what units it can pull aside, and then realize I can't quite take that, so I'm just gonna play contain here, which is the smart move for him to do. so that way he can recover from the damage that he took from that push from Willie T. Looks like scouting just to make sure that there's no expansions on the field for Willie T. Willie T is going to need the push to take that natural soon. Gonna have some trouble with the bio that's mixed in there. Marines against small number of goons can be pretty good, but against larger counts of goons can kind of start to struggle. Willie T is trying to take that natural there, did kind of send out an SCV unprotected, which ended up getting picked off, but able to push Banana Brain back a bit here. That he can go ahead and maybe get the expansion up, though being a little overzealous with its units to chase. Kind of keeping his army out of position here, not defending that natural. I'm gonna go ahead and move forward now that it's under attack again. This army units could have been already up. They may have been hanging around this observer that Banana Brain wants to position up there to keep count on the troops. But the tanks, keeping the Dragoons at bay a little bit, but the army count at this point for Banana Brain might be high enough that he's able to just run this over. I think at this point this might be a losing match. Meanwhile, behind this we've got the third and the fourth for Banana Brain underway. The third well is completed. So that micro though at the beginning by Willie T was just really clean and nice, dealing with the in-your-face zealot 2-gate proxy there by Banana Brain. And I liked the follow-up counterattack, but probably, like I said, should have left the 2 gateways hanging there, so that way they could get to the main a little bit faster. And then all that's left at this point is just clean up for Banana Brain. So let's go ahead and get into our next game. And so for what will probably be our last matchup for tonight, tonight, I'm mixing today and tonight together. We have Microwave, which was updated this week as the yellow Zerg up against white Protoss McRave. So the white coloring on the Protoss buildings and units here was a little why can't I if my mouse is too low I cannot zoom in, but the white coloration was a little tricky to differentiate from yellow on the Protoss units there while zoomed out. So let's go ahead and check out what each of the bots are doing. Looks like we are getting a 4 pool from Microwave on a 4-player map here. This is Python, if I'm remembering the layout of Python properly. McRave is going to scout the 4 pool. Did get a pylon first out here at the natural, so this will be interesting to see how this plays out. So scouting now with the extra drone because the Zerglings are under construction and you're really going to need to know where to send them pretty much immediately for this to be effective. Although at this point going to chase the scout back. Now a cannon is started. Let's see if Microwave will be able to take this out. Microwave actually could just go into the into the main, clear it out, but instead gonna try and focus on the cannons. The probes are gonna take out the lings and then be forced to back off while the cannons are allowed to finish. Meanwhile, given, oops, I forgot to have this up, the mineral count of McRave, if those Zerglings had instead just run into the main here and started targeting down the Nexus, that would have been really interesting to see what McRave would have needed to do there in order to respond to that. Actually, the overlay there is covering up a bit of the fighting, so we'll go ahead and recenter the focus on where the action is happening. McRave still just pumping, or sorry, Microwave is still just pumping out Zerglings right now and kind of just throwing them to the cannons, trying to break this, but I think 2 cannons is going to be enough along with the workers to hold this back while McRave is able to continue to produce workers. So if they are maybe going to try and put down, yep, a third cannon, it looks like, to deal with the Zerglings here. Microwave still staying on 4 drones, so it looks like Microwave is committed to the 4-pole strategy. Gonna try and poke in again, but be repelled by the cannons. McRave at this point is able to get the Nexus down for the natural and seems to be safe to proceed as normal. Hopefully Microwave will transition out of the 4-pole into something else, although they'll be drastically behind at this point. The Zerglings are just not going to cut it. Getting a nice little wall formation here going as best as it can given the circumstances of the 4-pole rush. And it looks like Microwave is not going to transition out of this, although interestingly, has a Zergling on patrol for hidden expansions. Now we're starting to see unit production from Microwave, or sorry, from McRave up. Message from Microwave makes me wonder if it's actually going to transition into something beyond Zerglings. Yep, we are seeing drones, so now it has given up, perhaps a little later than it should have on the 4-pole. So it will be transitioning into something else, although it's going to be very behind at this point. It was a good attempt there at the 4-pole. The timing was almost there too, but it looks like it wasn't quite enough to get in there. And like I said, it could have run past the building cannons to try and do some damage to the Nexus and maybe take it out. But also, too, there were enough probes that they may have been able to defense it, so it's hard to say if that was the deciding moment there or not. McRave doing some scouting with his with his probe out there, and Microwave is getting now a hatchery, getting some more drones, needing to get his macro up in order to try and keep up. Going to need some anti-air, though, as a Corsair is now coming out onto the field. And that's going to be able to go and pick off Overlords rather freely at this point. Finding the Overlords that are grouped up on the hatchery there. Now we're seeing Hydralisk then and an Evolution Chamber to try and deal with these Corsairs that are out and about. One Overlord pops. Next Overlord's gonna pop. Really needs to throw down a couple of Spore Colonies in order to keep your Overlord alive, and it looks like he is getting at least one in the main, so that is good to see. But this Overlord that just pops in the natural is a free 100 minerals surrendered to McRave. Meanwhile, the Zealots are now coming out to try and clean this up. And there's no army available really for Microwave due to the supply block that was created by the Corsairs. The natural was cleaned up. Just realized that was covered up by the overlay, so I apologize for that. And now, McRave taking the win from Microwave. GG, nice game to watch there with the 4-pole attempting to break this, but nice reaction by McRave getting the cannons and pulling the workers to defend it. Thank you so much for watching this week's cast. We hope to see you next week. Have a good one, everyone.